Yeah, well, we flew in, early and we got to the track and, I hadn't been there in a long time, so it was cool to see the facility again. Got there and Dad took the pace car out for practice. That was funny. But that was cool. That was man, when was the last time you were on that track? That was a long time ago.
Yeah, it's been a long time. I don't, maybe it was 2013 last
Yeah.
time I was on it. So, yeah, that's really cool to be there.
Yeah, and what'd you say when you pulled in after you took it out for a lap?
I don't remember.
Yeah, you said something like, "Man, I can't believe I used to do that."
Oh,
Yeah,
Lord. Yeah. So we were heading down set the cruise control at 45 because that's pit road speed and or pace car speed. We're practicing, and I looked down there at turn one, and it scared the shit out of me. I mean, it just did. I mean, I don't know how we did that, and it gave me new perspective on the drivers out there today. Like, oh man. I mean, when we did it, it was another day at the office. It was nothing. But now I can appreciate it. And after yesterday, I appreciate all those drivers and all those teams more than I have since this car, since 2022, honestly. Because I've gotten closer and closer and closer to the competition, and I'm starting to really realize, you know, these are our superstars. These are, these guys are incredible, not only on the racetrack, but on pit road as well. Absolutely amazing athletes. And sometimes you forget, how that it's only the best of the very best.
yeah. Well, Dad, you get used to doing something, every week, and it becomes normal to you. So yeah, it's just it's pretty wild to think about. You getting out there again, and but it
Yeah.
keeps knocking you. But you used to do that every week.
People used to ask me all the time, what's it like to go 200 miles an hour? It's like, another day at the office. I mean, it wasn't anything, but to them it would have been. And so, yeah, you get acclimated. I think I've been away from it long enough. Vegas didn't look as intimidating. I felt like I could drive JR 51 off into turn three, with a wide arc and right down to the bottom. When I looked at Darlington, I just didn't think I could do it. I didn't. I just looked like a sharp U-turn, man.
But then after that, we went to the NASCAR Alumni tent, and that was really neat because that's all the people that I really know from growing up and Dad raced with and everything. They were most of them were there, and so that was neat. Got to see Ernie Irvin and his wife Kim, and I got to talk to Larry Mack and Jeff Hammond and a bunch of guys. And Dad actually got to talk to more people than I did. So, anyways, I don't know if you've got any stories you want to tell from that.
Yeah, Sterling Marlin, hadn't seen him in forever, but I hadn't seen Ernie in forever. It was so good to see Ernie and Kim, and just love Ernie so much, but love Kim too. We were so close in 92, 93, and right up till his accident. Um, and it was just we camped together, parked our coaches side by side, and hung out together. And it was so good to spend time with them. But just Harry Gant, talking to Harry, and just on and on. I got Butch Mock, got to talk about a fun story with Butch Mock. So not everybody knows this, but I wanted to drive that 75 car so bad I could taste it in the 80s, 83, 84. I would have loved to have drove it, but they wouldn't hire me. Um, and so anyway, Todd Bodine's driving for them later on in the 90s, and we qualify poorly at Darlington, and Todd's lined up right behind me. So we're 27th or something, back there pretty good. And right before we get in the car to strap in, I go up to Todd and I say, Todd, follow me. We're going to go to the front. Don't be in any hurry. Just follow me. Because I knew that, I knew. And so we ran about 5 or 6 laps, and I was making progress, steady, slow, gradual progress. And of course, he had to pass me. And I want to pass a bunch of other ones. About 15, and this is Butch telling the story. And then I remembered it all. Then about 15 laps later, I catch Todd and drive on, and we run off and leave Todd. He couldn't listen, and so it was fun hearing that story, because when I hear stories that I forgot about, um, it's kind of fun to relive. But DW just got all those guys. I didn't get a chance to talk to Larry Mack. We were standing right next to each other, but we were gathered around with everybody talking, and we had a huge time. And I just commend Darlington, the NASCAR Hall of Fame, the alumni, program. What they did for the old timers was absolutely amazing, with that tent, with the TV, with food. Really gave these old timers a place to go, because when we go to the racetrack now, what are we supposed to do? And we don't go to somebody's trailer like we used to, like our haulers or trailer. We don't really know what to do. So we don't feel super comfortable. And that gave us all a place to gather in luxury, air conditioning, and everything. And that part of it was absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, it's a really neat deal that they do that now. I mean, I think it's really important to give people that have been involved in NASCAR for, most of their lives, at least, a place to go to the track and hang out and everything. It was a really neat experience to get to see everybody again. Because, I mean, I hadn't seen some people since I was a little kid. So, yeah, it was cool.
Yeah. Yeah. And then what we do next? That was so much fun.
Well, so after you took the pace car out, before the start, um, you took the pace car out, and then we went back to the alumni tent for like 5 minutes, and then we went up to the MRN booth, and I'd have known about that elevator going up there. I mean, it's like that's like getting into a steel cage. I mean, it's not like a modern elevator. It's like it's old school. So that was kind of a cool experience. But we got up to the MRN booth, and that was really neat. I'd never seen the track from up there before, and to watch those guys, call the race. I mean, you have to be really talented to do that. I mean, they're just so smooth, and you got to think like as a listener, you don't have the visual component, so those guys really have to paint the picture of what's going on. I mean, that's a difficult thing to do, and obviously I'm sure they practice that a lot. But Dad can talk about it. It's just like, man, they just roll with it. They're so good at that, and it was cool too because when we looked over to our left in the neighboring booth, we could see Larry Mack in there, calling the race too, and I mean that was pretty sweet. So.
Yeah, Bagley and all those guys in the booth. I had to brag on them, man. They make it look easy, and it's not. I mean, they are so smooth. It's incredible. I enjoy that as much as anything we did was being up there in the booth with them and listening to them and interacting with those guys. And I want to give a shout out to Todd Gordon, because I wanted him to know that I truly appreciate his view, which is technical, much more technical, because he was a crew chief. And so I like that. I need that. I need to know, a little bit more from a technical side to help me stay integrated and interested. So I think he's a huge plus to addition to the NASCAR radio whenever, or either MRN or when I hear him on the radio and stuff. I love hearing him, and that's really cool. But it was a lot of fun. We got to tell. I got to tell a funny story that's going to be in the book. They couldn't believe it. Todd could not believe it because he's a crew chief and he's thinking of how things are today about ripping my cool suit off under caution on the racetrack at Dover. It's like, how did you do that? Well, he's thinking containment seats and stuff. And, we didn't have any of that. So I took my seat belts off and my helmet off, and I took the dang thing off. And I never occurred to me to come to pit road because then I'd have to line up last, at the back of the pack. So, yeah, so they got a big hoot out of that. But that's just a little taste of the crazy stuff that's going to be in our book. Matt and I can't wait to share that. So it was an amazing day. The fans were so awesome, so energetic. The social media afterwards and today is so positive. NASCAR is really, they're really headed in the right direction. Things are really much better than I think they were a year ago.
Yeah, it really seems like there's a lot of positive, momentum, and it'd be great to keep that going.
Yeah, for sure. Well, also, I don't know if you got anything else about Darlington, but man, we had a blast on Tuesday as well.
Yeah, I mean that was another full day. I mean, so yeah, we got there, early in the morning. We flew from Arkansas to Concord, North Carolina, and landed at the airport there and went straight to the RFK shop. And that was another place I hadn't seen since I was, well, at least been inside since I was, a little kid. And it was pretty cool because, a lot of it was how I remembered. I mean, obviously there's been some updates and changes and stuff, but that was really neat. And to, meet everybody in the shop and have the luncheon honor and Jack. That was cool. And Dad, can talk more about that, I'm sure. But yeah, it was really cool to reconnect with them and that organization, obviously with Dad's history there. So
And Chip Bowers is, I don't know his exact title, president. Um, is it? I would call it the general manager, but I think he's probably president or vice president of RFK now. So uh, he's been there for a while, but was first time for me to really see him in person. We've had a phone call about his vision, and uh, I'm kind of excited about it because he seems to bring new life to the vision that we're going to embrace our history. We're going to embrace our roots, where we came from. We're going to, embrace Jack Roush. Even though he's one part of of an organization instead of it being Jack Roush and Roush Racing in the beginning. But I think it's cool that they want to. They had most of the old drivers from the original Roush days were there, and they embrace that, and I think they have a great plan going forward. They already have the best social media program in NASCAR, and we haven't overly participated in that because we haven't really prior to the new leadership, it wasn't really embraced for multiple reasons. But we're looking forward to working with them all going forward with the social media and with RFK. And, I love Chris Buescher. And of course, everybody knows I love Ryan Preece as well. And Brad is such a smart person. They couldn't have had to for Brad to be able to get that program back competitive after being not competitive for so long was quite the feat. And he was the man to do it because he's so smart.
Yeah, it's really cool to see them doing good again. You know, they went for a while where they struggled a little bit, and yeah, it was so cool to see them back up front at Darlington. But yeah, so we spent the morning there, had lunch with them, and then after that, we went across the street to NASCAR Productions, and yeah, we were there until the evening, and yeah, that was that was a lot to do. I mean, I can't even remember all what we did. We did so much.
Yeah, I gotta hand it to the NASCAR media group and social media and all that because they asked me, how much time would I give them, and I'm like, man, I don't come to Charlotte ever, and I'm going to be there, so um, all you want, how's that? And boy, they took that to heart. We
Yeah,
were
they
there
took
from
advantage of that.
They took advantage of it. We were there from 2 o'clock till 6:30, and never had 1 minute, of leisure time. I mean, we were wide open. So I loved it. I thought that was the way. I'm wide open. That's how I would have done it if someone would have told me if I was in charge and a driver said everything you want. I would have done it that way. So I appreciate it. We got a lot done. There's a lot of stuff in the can that's going to be coming at you later that I think everybody's going to enjoy. And they made the most of it. We did, we met with the press and we shot that social media uh, thing with Raja Caruth, which was brilliant. I mean, there's so much work goes into that people don't think about. Um, but I thought that was great. And I don't even know what all else we did. I'm like you, Matt. I can't remember, but I know we were on the move the whole time, and it was pretty cool. We got to see Ross Chastain when I was coming out of the media room. He was going in. He stopped and he asked Matt something about the fast truck racing, and I actually didn't realize he started racing the year that Matt moved out of that. He started racing fast trucks. So what Matt was doing. So it was kind of wild to think about that. But Ross was coming along way back then, getting his feet under him, and it was cool to talk to him. And at the luncheon too, Carl was there, Jeff Burton was there. I mean, it was so much fun to have all those, Jamie Murray, and we got to tell those stories, about all of that. One of them that's important to me that's never spoken about enough is, Jack Roush never hired a successful NASCAR driver. He made them successful. The only one, I mean, yeah, once we got to Newman or somewhere long after I was gone, maybe he did. But, all those years, Jamie McMurray was the only guy he ever hired that was a successful NASCAR driver. All the rest of them were coming up from nowhere. And now they're in the NASCAR Hall of Fame. And so that's what he should be famous for, is for making people's dream come true. But I like to tell the story about Jamie because I demanded we hired Jamie. I wanted Jamie to take over the 6 car. I wanted him to replace me in the 6 car. And as it turned out, Kurt got fired and they needed somebody to drive the 97, and just made sense for me to stay another year and help them out because they didn't, they weren't prepared for that. And so he never wound up in the 6 car, but uh, it's a pretty cool story. And it's something that people should think about because Jack wasn't the kind of guy to go out and poach crew members or drivers from someone else. He was all about taking them the right people and giving them the tools to be successful.
Yeah, it was really good to see Jack. You know, I hadn't personally seen Jack in many years, and so it was really neat to see him again, talk to him, and shake his hand. And yeah, Dad, just to echo what you said, I mean, I think Jack has a really unique place in NASCAR history, and I mean, he really should be recognized for what he did because I mean, he he created a lot of NASCAR stars. Um, and I mean, you just think like, of course, Dad. I mean, Jeff Burton, Carl Edwards, Kurt Busch. I mean, Matt
Matt
Kenseth.
Kenseth.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I mean, without Jack Roush, like no one would really know who these guys are, and so it's big. I mean, there's not really any other major car owner that's done that I can think of.
Just think about it. Jeff Burton's going to be in the NASCAR Hall of Fame too. So, how many Hall of Fame drivers did he put in there? And Jimmy Finnick will be a Hall of Fame crew chief. And yeah, Jimmy had been around when he came to work there in '97, but uh, he's you think about it, and you think about unsung stars, and that those are Steve Neal and Robert Pemberton, and they're overlooked a lot, and they were young guys who it was a big step to take over the role as crew chief and general manager of an organization that had nothing. I mean, they built it from the first piece of metal, and in the second year, we won races and finished third in the championship. So 6 poles, we were really fast. So um, eh, all through Roush Racing, he was creating superstars, and for that, I'm eternally grateful. Not just for what he did for me, but what he did for others.
Yeah, and not to skip around a little bit, but talking about being over at the NASCAR Productions facility, I was talking to some of the people there, and they were showing us footage from Dad's career and everything, and I was really, I mean, I knew they had a lot of unreleased footage that they've been working on and they'll eventually get out, but they had way more than I ever would have realized. Some of the stuff that they showed us. I mean, even like some of the races that are already on NASCAR Classics, like say the 93 Southern 500 or the 89 Rockingham win. Even, they have footage from those races that's not in the broadcast footage that they have uploaded to the NASCAR Classics page. So, some of that footage I'd never even seen before. So that was really neat. But they have more races. They just haven't uploaded them yet. But they have a lot of stuff that's just off the track. It's not even from a race, and so yeah, they're telling me how much footage that they're having to go through, and that I mean it's a massive undertaking to. I mean, I know a little bit about that from just getting negatives and stuff, and for the book and getting stuff scanned for photos and everything, but it like yeah, when you get that much in your archive, like it's a lot of work to get everything digitized and organized and everything. And but they even had a few old ASA races, and I think if I recall correctly, they I'm not sure if they'll ever release those. I think they want to, but that kind of gets into possibly like some rights issues and everything. But they showed us footage from Dad winning the 1986 Winchester 400, and it was in high definition, and it was crazy because it was shot like a professionally. I didn't even know that they filmed it like that back then, but um, it looked like you were watching a race on the NASCAR Classics channel. It was crazy to see that footage.
It was, and that reminds me. So that's what took a lot of our time was we did race watch for NASCAR Classics, which we watched certain clips of the race, and then I would talk about it, talk about the car, talk about the track, talk about the strategy or whatever. And the reason I say all that is to add to what Matt said about all this massive amount of incredible footage that they have a 24/7 NASCAR channel, and it's free. I get it on Tubi. I've got an app. I have Apple TV, my TVs, and I watch. So that's what I watch all everything on stream, everything, and on Tubi. But it's other platforms as well, but it's free. You don't have to pay for it. And these classic, I mean, it's NASCAR racing 24/7, and there's a lot of really cool high definition, old races and race footage. And that's a massive thing. And like Matt said, he understands a lot of that because he's done so much stuff with the archive, and posting videos and editing things and all that stuff. And then everything that he's done with the book, he has a great appreciation. I think we all forget in the fast day and age that we live in, we forget how much work goes into this entertainment that we have. We pick up the phone and we go on, Instagram or X or something like that, and we see something interesting and we don't think about how much work it is. I know I do my own social media and I would like to do a better job, but it's a full-time job if I was going to do a better job than I do. And I was just thinking today when I was thinking about that NASCAR uh, thing that we did with Raja, and thinking about how much work it was work for Raja and I, but not much work. It was a massive amount of work for them to put that together. And it just made me think, like so many of these things that we watch on social media is requiring somebody's a lot of time and work. And we forget that sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, they were telling me that they have so much footage in their archive that, I mean, they don't even know all what they have. They have so much, and I know how that is with all the photos and stuff that I have. And though, or like they know that they have something, but they have so much that they have a hard time finding it. Um, and yeah, it's going to be pretty amazing over the next couple of years. I think what they come out with and upload to their channels and everything, because some of the stuff that they showed us, I mean, it was mind blowing. Um, frankly, I mean, it's just really cool to see, and it's a good thing that they're doing this, because for the longest time, I mean, all people could do is watch grainy footage of all this stuff on YouTube. And I mean, that's better than nothing, but it's hard to appreciate um, something when you're watching it in such, low quality. I mean, when you see this stuff on high definition, you're just like, wow. I mean, it really,
Well, I think that pretty much sums our week up.
yeah. I'm wore out, man.
Both of us.
Yeah.
My friend that went with us yesterday, about 2 hours in after getting to the racetrack, he said, "You're going to have a sore throat." And I said, "Yeah, I am." Talking so much.